If we talk about a true Maya apocalypse, it didn't occur in 2012, but around 65 million years ago. Today, who hasn't heard of the theory that a massive meteorite fell on Earth, wiping out about 75% of extinguished life, including the dinosaurs? However, this theory has only been around for a little over 50 years. Today, we know that this meteorite fell in what is now Mexico, specifically on the Yucatan Peninsula. But how was this discovered? The theory of this mass extinction was proposed by an American physicist named Luis Alvarez and his son, the geologist Walter, around 1980. They analyzed geological samples collected from all over the world. They saw that in the intermediate layers of the so-called Cretaceous and Tertiary periods from 55 million years ago, there was a concentration of iridium hundreds of times higher than normal. Iridium is a rare chemical element that is only found in asteroids and extraterrestrial objects. Thus, the presence of iridium almost worldview suggested that a meteorite had impacted Earth, causing this mass extinction. But the problem was that the impact site of such a massive object had not been found until then. And while the meteorite theory was developing, in Mexico around 1970, workers from the state-owned Pemex, responsible for extracting oil in the country, named Antonio Camargo Sanoguera and Glenn Penfield, geophysicists, were working in Yucatan. They had flown over the waters of the Caribbean Sea near Puerto Chicxulub, using a magnetometer to scan the waters in search of oil. But what they found was half of an almost perfect circle shape submerged near the Yucatan Peninsula. Few knew about this data because it belonged to Pemex, so it wasn't made available to researchers until years later. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to them, archaeologists explored Maya ruins in the middle 1980s by examining satellite images of the peninsula. They located both on land remnants on almost perfect ring about 200 kilometers wide. And next to this ring, they found countless cenotes surrounding the capital of Yucatan, Mérida. All this information was isolated for years until it was gathered together. With this, it was understood that the impact site of the meteorite had been in Yucatan. Currently, half of the crater is on land, and the other half is under the sea. This meteorite contributed to the existence of the cenotes in Yucatan, as seen in the images. Where the meteor fell millions of years ago, it fractured the land around it, forming cracks. Now, many millions of years before the meteorite, the separation of the continents formed the Yucatan Peninsula. About 100 million years ago, the current peninsula was underwater, emerging as sea levels dropped due to glaciations, thus exposing millions of ancient underwater inhabitants who would die and become fossilized. Thus, the marine sediment formed by these marine creatures created the limestones so characteristic of Yucatan. This stone, even without the meteorite, was ideal for creation case by dissolving the limestone with the converge of underworld water flow and various acids that dissolve the rock, thus creating underworld rivers and water holes, which, when the ceilings of air collapsed at ground level, gave life to the cenotes. But this natural creation process was accelerated by the meteorite. With its impact, it formed this almost perfect circle, giving life to the thousands of cenotes we see today. These were found by the Maya and other people who came to live in the area, obviously unaware of the impact that occurred there. In our era, near the center of the impact, a settlement called Chicxulub was formed, and thus the crater was named. The word means place of the horn stuck in, or demons flee. Thus, the meteorite was destroyed and created. It killed millions of living beings, allowing us to be here today, and it modified the planet's conditions, but it also created the cenotes, and millions of years later helped shape much of the Mayans' worldview on the peninsula. As we said, when the Maya populated the area, they found the cenotes, which are essentially holes in the ground filled with water. This gave the Mayan material to form their beliefs, foundational myths, and lifestyle, starting with the logical result that the cenotes are a source of water, without which the Maya could not cultivate or survive in this area. Therefore, these began to be objects of worship, believing them a secret place of life, but also of death. In their beliefs, cenotes were entrance to the underworld, the Maya Xibalba, a cold and dark place that is the dual aspect of the sun and heat. Thus, without cenotes, there would be no underworld, no lords of the underworld, nor creation myths like that of the Maya twins Unaphu and Xbalanque, who precisely descended to the underworld to fight against the rulers of that place. And of course, these myths did not remain just in speech, as in many cenotes recreation of these myths had been found, as if these twins lived in the cenotes. Cenotes also became places of offerings, burials, and sacrifices, which, due to global time, in many cases, the offerings that were placed on dry land were covered by the water that entered the cenotes, and these were also the starting point to creating cities and constructions. An example being Chichen Itza and its so-called castle today. The city was built based on the location of cenotes. We now know that beneath the castillo there is one upon which 3 platforms were built, one on top of the other. But also, this central cenote has, at certain distances to the sides, 2 others radiating from the central cenote. Thus, these cenotes determine the construction of Chichen Itza and previous settlements. Therefore, even the meteorite and its effects indirectly shaped and gave life to this and many other Maya cities and constructions. The meteorite, without intending to, was greatly responsible for the geography of the Maya Peninsula and its ancient worldview, which fascinates us so much.